Radio waves carrying strange signals bounced across the Galactic Council's monitoring station, like whispers from the unknown, each transmission more disturbing than the last. Ambassador Kale's forearms trembled as he analyzed the data streams. From the third planet in what humans called the Sol system, his species, the Alterons, had evolved on a peaceful world where the greatest danger was a gentle breeze, making what he witnessed through these transmissions absolutely terrifying. The first video showed creatures deliberately throwing themselves from impossible heights with nothing but fabric wings strapped to their backs. Kale's translator struggled with the alien language, but the excited screaming suggested these beings were either in tremendous pain or experiencing something his species could never comprehend. Other transmissions revealed even more horrifying activities. Beings descending into crushing ocean depths, where pressure should have liquefied their bodies, scaling vertical rock faces with minimal equipment, and most shocking of all, running directly toward massive weather formations that could level entire cities. "This planet is a nightmare," whispered Dr. Nira, the Council's leading xenobiologist. Her pale blue skin had turned almost white with fear. "Look at their atmospheric readings. Wind speeds that would tear apart our strongest structures, temperature variations that swing between freezing and boiling, and radiation levels from their star that should have sterilized all life." The monitoring team had classified thousands of worlds, but nothing had prepared them for Earth. Every measurement indicated a Class X Deathworld, a planet so hostile that any intelligent life trapped there would be in constant survival mode. The gravity alone was 3 times stronger than most inhabited worlds, crushing enough to flatten most known species. Yet somehow, these creatures they were calling humans not only survived, but seemed to thrive in conditions that would kill most galactic citizens within minutes. Another transmission showed groups of young humans engaging in what appeared to be ritual combat, throwing themselves at each other while crowds cheered. Kale assumed this was some desperate training for survival against the planet's endless dangers. Even their offspring participated in activities that would be considered extreme sports on any civilized world, swinging from metal structures and sliding down steep inclines at dangerous speeds. "We have to help them," declared Commander Theta, his crystalline body resonating with emotional frequency patterns. "These beings are clearly prisoners on their own world, forced to engage in these survival trials just to stay alive." The evidence seemed overwhelming. Every piece of intercepted media showed humans engaged in what could only be described as life-threatening activities. The Council's computers calculated survival probabilities for various human activities and consistently returned results near 0%. Yet somehow, these creatures kept participating in activities that should have resulted in immediate extinction. Dr. Nira pulled up atmospheric analysis data that made the situation even more dire. Their air contains 21% oxygen, a concentration high enough to cause spontaneous combustion in most species. They're literally breathing fire-supporting gas every moment of their lives. She paused to process more data. And their weather systems, these storms they call them, generate electrical discharges powerful enough to vaporize starship hulls. The most disturbing footage showed humans actually seeking out these weather events, standing in open areas as electrical death rained from the sky. Some even climbed tall metal poles to get closer to the destruction. Kale's understanding of intelligent behavior couldn't process such apparent madness. The only logical conclusion was that these humans were trapped in some kind of planetary prison, forced to participate in deadly trials for unknown reasons. As more transmissions arrived, the pattern became clearer to the Council team. These humans weren't just surviving their death world through accident or luck. They were actively seeking out the most dangerous situations their planet could offer. Some footage showed them diving into freezing water where ice formations could crush them instantly. Others revealed humans intentionally entering territories inhabited by massive predators that could tear them apart with ease. "This changes everything we know about intelligent life," Commander Theta announced to the Emergency Council session. "We've discovered a species that has been tortured by their environment for so long that they've developed Stockholm Syndrome with their own planet. They've been conditioned to believe that participating in these death trials is normal behavior." The Council's philosophers struggled with the implications. A species that had evolved intelligence while trapped on such a hostile world might have developed psychological adaptations, unlike anything previously encountered. Their apparent enjoyment of dangerous activities could be a survival mechanism, a way of finding meaning in constant terror. Some theorists suggested the humans might have developed a form of species-wide madness, unable to distinguish between safety and danger after generations of Deathworld exposure. Dr. Nira discovered the most disturbing evidence yet: transmissions showing human celebrations after surviving their deadly activities. They gathered in groups, sharing what appeared to be fermented liquids while recounting their near-death experiences with apparent joy. The psychological damage seemed complete. These beings had been so broken by their hostile environment that they celebrated trauma as achievement. "We cannot allow this to continue," Ambassador Kale declared as he addressed the full Galactic Council Assembly. "We have discovered an intelligent species trapped on a deathworld so hostile that it has driven them to find pleasure in their own suffering. This is not just a rescue mission, it's a moral imperative." The Council approved Operation Sanctuary within hours, authorizing the largest rescue fleet in galactic history. Thousands of ships would be dispatched to evacuate every human from their nightmare world before the transmission ended. One final piece of footage arrived that sealed their determination. It showed a human female deliberately entering a cave system filled with hanging stone formations that could collapse at any moment. She carried primitive lighting equipment and moved deeper into what was clearly a death trap, seemingly for no survival purpose whatsoever. As the rescue fleet prepared for departure, none of the council members suspected they were about to encounter the galaxy's greatest misunderstanding. The humans they were rushing to save had no idea they needed saving, and the activities that horrified the galaxy were about to revolutionize it in ways no one could imagine. The first cultural exchange was going to be far more complicated than anyone anticipated. Massive shadow fell across the California coastline as the first Galactic Council rescue vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere, its hull gleaming with protective shields designed to withstand what they believed was a planetary hell. Dr. Lisa Warren stood on the beach watching the impossible sight unfold above her, clipboard forgotten in her hands as humanity's first official contact with alien life approached at precisely the worst possible moment. The timing couldn't have been more unfortunate. Below the descending ship, the annual Maverick surfing competition was in full swing. 30-foot waves crashed against the rocks while surfers paddled directly into what any reasonable species would consider liquid mountains of death. The aliens' sensors immediately detected the life signs of humans engaging in what appeared to be a mass suicide attempt. "Emergency protocols activated," announced the ship's AI as Ambassador Kale watched the surface readings with growing horror. Multiple humanoid life forms detected in immediate mortal danger from crushing liquid formations. Dr. Warren tried frantically to establish communication as rescue beams began targeting the surfers, attempting to lift them to safety away from the waves. The result was chaos. Surfers found themselves suspended in mid-air by alien technology, just as they were about to catch the perfect wave, their boards floating uselessly below them while they gestured angrily at the sky. "What the hell are you doing?" shouted professional surfer Mike Rodriguez as he dangled 20 feet above his board. "I've been waiting 2 hours for that wave." The aliens interpreted his shouting as cries for help and intensified their rescue efforts. More beams activated, plucking confused surfers from the water, while emergency medical systems began analyzing their vital signs. The readings only confirmed alien fears: elevated heart rates, increased adrenaline, and neurological patterns that suggested extreme stress or possibly euphoria. From survival, Ambassador Kale authorized immediate descent to the surface, convinced they had arrived just in time to prevent a tragedy. His environmental suit's sensors screamed warnings about atmospheric toxicity, gravitational crushing force, and temperature variations that fell outside safe parameters. Yet somehow these humans were not only surviving, but appeared to be thriving in conditions that should have been instantly lethal. Dr. Warren approached the landing site as alien figures emerged from their ship, their movements cautious and heavily protected. She had prepared for this moment through years of SETI research, but nothing had prepared her for the reality of beings who considered her planet uninhabitable. "Welcome to Earth, she began, speaking slowly into her translation device. I'm Dr. Lisa Warren, representing the human species. You poor creature, Kale responded, his forearms reaching toward her in what his species considered a gesture of comfort. How long have you been trapped on this nightmare world? Our sensors detect atmospheric poison, crushing gravity, and thermal variations that should have killed your species long ago. The confusion was immediate and profound. Dr. Warren tried to explain that humans weren't trapped on Earth. They were native to it. But the concept seemed to break something fundamental in alien understanding. How could any species evolve intelligence on a world where the very air could ignite and the weather systems generated enough energy to power entire civilizations? Meanwhile, the beach situation deteriorated as more surfers were forcibly rescued from waves they had traveled thousands of miles to experience. The alien medical systems detected what they interpreted as severe psychological trauma, noting that many humans continued struggling to return to the deadly water formations even after being saved. Competition officials tried to explain surfing through increasingly frustrated gestures, while alien emergency responders prepared trauma counseling protocols. These beings have been conditioned to believe their torture is normal, Dr. Nira reported to the ship. They're exhibiting classic symptoms of environmental Stockholm syndrome, actually preferring to remain in danger rather than accept safety. The misunderstanding deepened when a group of children arrived at the beach for swimming lessons. The aliens immediately classified this as child endangerment on a massive scale, witnessing adults deliberately leading young humans into crushing liquid death. Their rescue protocols activated automatically, lifting confused children from shallow water, while their parents shouted protests that were interpreted as grief-stricken. Desperation. Dr. Warren realized that explaining human recreation was going to require a completely different approach. She led Ambassador Kale to the nearby playground, hoping that observing children at play might help him understand that human activities weren't survival trials, but voluntary entertainment. The result was even worse horror as alien sensors analyzed playground equipment. These are torture devices, Kale whispered, his breathing apparatus fogging with stress. Your species forces children to climb impossible heights, slide down structures designed to cause acceleration trauma, and swing from hanging implements that could snap at any moment. When a child laughed while going down a slide, alien translators interpreted the sound as a stress response to imminent death. The swing sets were classified as pendulum-based psychological conditioning tools, and the jungle gym became a climbing obstacle course designed to prepare young humans for cliff-face survival. The aliens began documenting what they believed was systematic child abuse disguised as normal behavior. Situation reached critical mass when Dr. Warren tried to demonstrate safe human activities by taking the ambassador group to a nearby park. They arrived during a family barbecue where humans were engaged in what appeared to be ritual fire worship, standing around open flames while consuming partially burned organic matter. The smoke from grilling meat triggered every alien environmental sensor, confirming their worst fears about atmospheric toxicity. They're literally consuming fire-damaged nutrients while breathing combustion byproducts, Commander Theta reported. Their digestive systems must have adapted to process toxins that would kill most known species. A friendly volleyball game nearby was interpreted as mandatory physical conditioning for planetary survival. The aliens watched in fascination and horror as humans repeatedly threw themselves on the ground to intercept a projectile object, clearly training for some unknown survival scenario that required such desperate physical responses. Dr. Warren's attempts at explanation grew more frustrated as every normal human activity was reinterpreted through the lens of Deathworld survival. When she mentioned that people actually chose to live on Earth's surface, rather than in protective underground bunkers, the aliens assumed this was because the subsurface was even more dangerous than the hellish conditions above. Your species has achieved intelligence despite being trapped in conditions that would challenge our most advanced survival equipment. Kale marveled, his respect for human resilience growing even as his horror at their situation intensified. We must evacuate your entire population immediately. The rescue fleet expanded as more ships arrived, each equipped with different environmental systems designed to house human refugees. The aliens had prepared multiple backup worlds with carefully controlled climates, filtered atmospheres, and gravity generators set to gentler specifications. They couldn't understand why humans seemed resistant to salvation, interpreting their protests as psychological conditioning that prevented them from recognizing rescue. By sunset, the beach was a chaos of confused aliens, angry surfers, worried parents, and emergency personnel trying to manage a first contact situation that had gone completely off script. Dr. Warren sat on a rescue ship, still trying to convince Ambassador Kale that humans didn't want to be rescued from their own planet while outside. Alien teams continued their well-intentioned but completely misguided salvation efforts. The galaxy's greatest rescue mission was about to become its most embarrassing misunderstanding, and both species were only beginning to realize how fundamentally different their concepts of safety and danger really were. Underground networks buzzed with forbidden information as word spread through the galaxy's less conservative species about the incredible discovery of voluntary danger. Alex Turner never expected to become humanity's first alien adventure guide. But 6 months after the failed rescue attempt, his extreme sports instruction business had transformed into something unprecedented in galactic history. The first alien tourists arrived secretly, using diplomatic channels to avoid the Galactic Council's protective protocols. A group of young Velkari had somehow obtained permits to visit Earth for cultural research, though their true motivation became clear when they specifically requested to experience something called weather variation. Their species had evolved on a tidally locked world where one side was perpetually frozen and the other eternally burning, with most civilization existing in the narrow twilight zone between extremes. "We have heard rumors," whispered Vel through his translation device as Alex met the delegation at a specially constructed airlock facility. "Stories of atmospheric conditions that change spontaneously, where temperatures can vary by dozens of degrees within a single rotation period." Alex had to suppress a laugh at the idea that mild weather changes were considered extreme entertainment, but he was beginning to understand that perspective was everything in interspecies relations. What humans considered a pleasant spring day represented more environmental variation than most alien species experienced in their entire lifetimes. The first guided tour was intentionally gentle. Alex led the Velkari group to a hillside in Colorado during what Earth meteorologists considered perfect conditions. Partly cloudy skies, gentle breezes, and temperatures around 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The aliens' responses were immediate and intense. Their crystalline structures began resonating with harmonic frequencies that their species typically reserved for religious experiences. "The thermal variations," Vel gasped, his body literally glowing with excitement as a cloud passed over the sun. "The pressure differentials from your atmospheric movements, this is extraordinary." Within hours, the Velkari were requesting more intense experiences. Could they feel actual wind, the kind that moved objects? Was it possible to experience temperature changes more rapidly? When a brief afternoon thunderstorm developed, the aliens' emergency protocols activated automatically, but instead of seeking shelter, they begged Alex to let them remain outside to experience the full sensory range of dynamic weather. The breakthrough came when Alex realized he wasn't dealing with thrill-seekers in the human sense. These aliens weren't seeking danger for adrenaline rushes. They were experiencing sensory input that their evolution had never provided. A gentle rain shower was more exotic to them than skydiving was to most humans. Their nervous systems were responding to environmental stimuli they had never encountered. Word spread through the galaxy's communication networks with incredible speed, but not in the way the Galactic Council had intended. Instead of sympathy for trapped humans, other species began expressing fascination with the concept of controllable danger. The Keth, a crystalline species from a world with perfectly stable geology, became obsessed with experiencing what they called gravitational irregularities. Humans knew them as hills and valleys. "Your planet's surface varies in elevation," Dr. Keth Prime explained to Alex during their first consultation call. "Our world is geometrically perfect, with no surface variations larger than microscopic crystal formations. We calculate that experiencing altitude changes while maintaining consciousness would provide sensory input, unlike anything our species has ever encountered." The requests became increasingly specific and strange. The aquatic Nereids wanted to experience controlled submersion in uncontrolled liquid environments, which took Alex some time to realize meant swimming in natural bodies of water, where currents and waves weren't artificially regulated. Even the ultra-cautious Altorans began sending private inquiries about minimal-risk environmental variation experiences. Alex's business partner, former marine biologist Dr. Amy Foster, specialized in aquatic adventures for alien tourists. Her first client was a Nereid diplomat who had spent his entire life in carefully maintained underwater cities with perfectly controlled currents, temperature, and chemical composition. The simple experience of swimming in a natural lake, where water temperature varied by depth and tiny organisms created unexpected sensations, left the alien literally speechless for hours. Your water bodies contain microscopic life forms that create tactile sensations. The Nereid reported to his government, "The thermal layers provide sensory input variations that our species' neural networks interpret as pleasurable stimulation. We must study this phenomenon further." The galactic tourism industry was revolutionized. Almost overnight, adventure tour companies began forming on Earth, each specializing in different types of safe danger for various alien physiologies. The Velkari loved weather experiences, requesting everything from gentle rain to controlled exposure to snow, which their species considered a mythical solid state, precipitation. The Keth became obsessed with geological variations, paying enormous sums just to walk up and down hills while experiencing gravitational acceleration changes. Dr. Foster created the galaxy's first interspecies adventure rating system. Level 1 experiences included feeling natural wind, experiencing temperature variations, and observing wild animal behavior from safe distances. Level 5 adventures involved activities like whitewater rafting, which alien physiology experts had to carefully modify for non-human participants. The cultural implications were staggering. Species that had spent millennia in carefully controlled environments were discovering that their nervous systems craved stimulation they didn't know existed. Young aliens began secretly planning Earth vacations, hiding their intentions from conservative family members who still viewed the planet as a nightmare deathworld. "We're accidentally creating a galactic generation gap," Dr. Foster observed as she reviewed booking requests. Young aliens want to experience natural environments, while their elders still think we're running elaborate survival training programs. The Galactic Council found itself dealing with an unprecedented diplomatic crisis as tourism applications flooded their bureaucracy. Species governments were split between protecting their citizens from a dangerous death world and satisfying growing demands for Earth experience vacations. Conservative factions argued that exposure to dangerous environments might psychologically damage alien visitors, while progressive groups claimed that environmental diversity was a fundamental right. Ambassador Kale received increasingly urgent reports from Altaran colonies, where young people were demanding access to environmental variation chambers that could simulate Earth-like weather changes. Their peaceful, stable world was suddenly considered boring by an entire generation that had heard stories of rain, wind, and temperature changes. "They're demanding to experience atmospheric precipitation," reported one colonial administrator. "They want water to fall from the sky, at random intervals without scheduled notifications. Some are even requesting exposure to unfiltered stellar radiation, which I believe humans call sunlight." The transformation was accelerating faster than anyone anticipated. Earth wasn't just becoming a tourist destination, it was becoming a catalyst for galactic cultural evolution. Species that had achieved perfect environmental control were discovering that perfection might not be what their biology actually desired. Their ancestors' adaptation to stable conditions had preserved nervous system capabilities that were only activated by environmental variation. Alex Turner, a former ski instructor from Colorado, found himself accidentally responsible for the galaxy's first philosophical revolution about the relationship between intelligence and environmental challenge. As alien tourists returned home with stories of voluntary exposure to natural elements, their governments faced growing pressure to reconsider everything they thought they knew about optimal living conditions. The rescue mission to save humans from their death world was transforming into a pilgrimage by aliens to discover what their own species might be missing. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous thing about safety is that it might not be what evolution actually intended. Advertisements flickered across galactic communication networks in dozens of languages, promoting what had become the most controversial entertainment phenomenon in recorded history. Experience the ultimate environmental challenge. Earth. Adventures await. Former stuntwoman Maria Santos never imagined her retirement would involve teaching crystalline aliens how to rock climb. But the galaxy's appetite for controlled danger had grown far beyond anyone's expectations. 2 years after first contact, Earth had become the most desired and simultaneously feared destination in known space. The planet hosted over 50 specialized adventure companies, each catering to different alien physiologies and cultural preferences. What started as simple weather exposure had evolved into a comprehensive extreme sports industry that challenged everything the galaxy thought it knew about recreation. The RATU. Valkyrie had progressed far beyond weather appreciation. Their latest obsession was skydiving, which they approached with the methodical intensity their species applied to all technical challenges. Unlike humans who jumped for adrenaline, Valkyrie sought the mathematical perfection of controlled atmospheric descent, calculating trajectory, variations, and air resistance patterns with the precision their civilization was famous for. The atmospheric density changes create predictable resistance coefficients, explained Veltar as he adjusted his specially designed wingsuit for the 15th time. Your species experiences this as emotional stimulation, but we appreciate the elegant physics of momentum transfer through varying medium densities. Maria had learned to work with these different motivations. Her alien students weren't seeking thrills in the human sense. They were exploring sensory experiences their evolution had never provided. Each species brought unique perspectives to activities humans had always taken for granted. The Keth discovered that rock climbing provided gravitational stress variations, their crystalline bodies interpreted as harmonic meditation. The aquatic Nereids found that river rafting offered water flow complexity that their brains processed as artistic expression. The most successful Earth attraction was the Global Interspecies Adventure Park, a facility designed to safely simulate dangerous activities for alien physiology. Each zone was carefully calibrated for different species tolerances. The Altaran section featured extremely gentle slopes and barely perceptible weather variations, while the Valkyrie zone offered dramatic temperature and pressure changes that would challenge even human endurance. We're not just running adventure tours, Dr. Foster explained to a galactic safety commission. We're conducting the largest interspecies psychology study in history. Every species responds to environmental challenges differently, and we're discovering that controlled danger might be a universal biological need. The breakthrough came when alien tourists began requesting not just individual experiences, but competitive events. The first interspecies Extreme Sports Championship was held in Switzerland, with carefully designed events that allowed different species to compete in modified versions of human activities. The Keth excelled at precision climbing, using their crystalline structures to find handholds impossible for organic beings. The Valkyrie dominated weather-based challenges, demonstrating an intuitive understanding of atmospheric dynamics that impressed human meteorologists. However, success brought unexpected problems. The first serious incident occurred during a routine mountain climbing expedition when a Keth participant, named Crystal Song, became overstimulated by gravitational variations. Their crystalline structure began resonating at dangerous frequencies, eventually shattering from what human doctors could only describe as excessive excitement. The alien literally died from too much fun, creating a diplomatic crisis that threatened to shut down all Earth tourism. This changes everything, Ambassador. Kale announced during emergency sessions, "We've confirmed that Deathworld activities can be fatally dangerous to our citizens, exactly as we originally predicted. The humans weren't prisoners, they were the only species capable of surviving these conditions." The incident forced development of the galaxy's first comprehensive extreme sports safety protocols. Dr. Foster worked with alien physiologists to create species-specific danger ratings and mandatory health monitoring systems. Every adventure now required real-time biological monitoring, automatic emergency extraction procedures, and psychological support systems designed for different alien nervous system configurations. The safety measures paradoxically increased demand rather than reducing it. Species governments that had been reluctant to approve Earth tourism began viewing the regulated adventure industry as legitimate recreation rather than dangerous experimentation. The establishment of the Galactic Extreme Sports Safety Commission legitimized what had begun as underground tourism. "We've created something unprecedented," Maria observed as she reviewed applications for the Advanced Alien Adventure Instructor Certification Program. Humans are accidentally becoming the galaxy's recreation specialists, teaching other species how to safely experience the biological stimulation their evolution eliminated. The cultural implications continued expanding. The Altaran younger generation had begun demanding environmental variation facilities in their home systems, leading to the first artificial weather generation systems designed specifically for recreational purposes. Their government commissioned human engineers to design controlled danger facilities that could provide adventure experiences without requiring travel to actual dangerous worlds. The Keth civilization experienced even more dramatic changes. Their perfectly stable world began incorporating controlled geological variations, creating artificial hills and valleys where their citizens could experience gravitational acceleration changes safely. The crystalline cities that had remained unchanged for millennia suddenly sprouted climbing structures and elevation platforms, designed by human architects who specialized in alien recreation. Dr. Foster documented the most fascinating development in her research. Alien species were not just enjoying dangerous activities, they were developing enhanced capabilities through exposure to environmental challenges. Velkari, who regularly experienced weather variations, showed improved cognitive flexibility compared to their planet-bound relatives Keth, who practiced climbing, demonstrated enhanced problem-solving abilities. The controlled exposure to challenges was actually improving alien mental and physical performance. "We're witnessing adaptive evolution in real time," she reported to the Galactic Scientific Council. "Species that eliminated environmental challenges from their lives also eliminated the biological benefits those challenges provided. Controlled danger exposure is actually therapeutic for beings whose evolution included environmental adaptation." The revelation transformed the adventure tourism industry from entertainment to medical treatment. Several alien governments began prescribing Earth experiences for citizens displaying symptoms of what researchers called environmental stimulation deficit disorder. The same species that had originally wanted to rescue humans from their dangerous world were now paying enormous sums for their citizens to experience controlled versions of that same danger. Maria's Adventure Guide certification program expanded to include alien psychology, species-specific physiology, and interstellar emergency medicine. Human instructors found themselves at the forefront of a new scientific field, combining recreational therapy, evolutionary biology, and interspecies relations. The former extreme sports community had accidentally become the galaxy's leading experts on biological optimization through controlled risk exposure. The Galactic Council faced increasing pressure to officially recognize controlled danger as a legitimate form of interspecies medicine rather than dangerous recreation. The same activities they had originally classified as human survival trials were being studied by xenobiologists as potential treatments for various alien psychological conditions. Earth's transformation from Deathworld nightmare to therapeutic adventure destination represented more than just economic opportunity. It suggested that the galaxy's understanding of optimal living conditions might be fundamentally flawed. The rescue mission to save humans from environmental danger was evolving into a galactic discovery that environmental danger might be exactly what every species had been missing. 5 years had transformed everything. Captain Nova Chen stood at the observation deck of the GSS Discovery, watching 3 suns rise over an alien world that made Earth look like a peaceful garden vacation destination. Beside her, Velkari Storm Tracker, Vel 9 calibrated atmospheric sensors, while Keth climbing specialist Crystal Mind mapped the geometry of crystalline formations that jutted from the planet's surface, like frozen lightning. The first joint human-alien expedition to explore a world even humans considered dangerous was about to begin. The irony wasn't lost on anyone involved. The same species that had originally tried to rescue humans from their deadly homeworld were now relying on human expertise to safely explore environments that challenged even Earth-adapted biology. The newly discovered world of Tempest 7 featured weather systems that could strip paint from starship hulls, geological formations sharp enough to cut through most known materials, and gravitational anomalies that made normal movement impossible. Atmospheric pressure is fluctuating beyond safe parameters for most species, reported Dr. Amy Foster Now, Director of Galactic Environmental Adaptation Research. But these readings are actually less extreme than what we'd find in an Earth hurricane. The real challenge will be teaching our alien team members to trust their training instead of their survival instincts. The expedition team represented the galaxy's most experienced adventure specialists, a combination that would have been impossible before Earth's influence on galactic recreation Vel-9 had become the Velkari system's leading expert on weather navigation after completing advanced storm-chasing certification in Kansas Crystal Mine, had revolutionized Keth exploration techniques by combining their species' natural geometric intuition with human-developed climbing strategies. Even the team's Altaran members were veterans of Earth's Gentle Adventure program, specially designed for species that found walking uphill emotionally challenging. Human adventure guides had become the galaxy's most sought-after professionals. Earth natives now traveled to alien worlds not as tourists, but as specialized consultants, helping other species develop safe approaches to environmental challenges their own evolution had eliminated. The transformation was so complete that human universities offered advanced degrees in interspecies adventure psychology and controlled risk management. The weather patterns here are incredible. Vel-9 announced as atmospheric sensors detected storm formations that dwarfed anything Earth could produce. These pressure differentials could provide sensory experiences unlike anything our species has encountered. The electromagnetic interactions alone offer research possibilities that could advance our understanding of atmospheric dynamics by centuries. Captain Chen smiled at the Velkari's excitement. The transformation in alien attitudes toward environmental challenges had been dramatic. 5 years earlier, weather variations were considered terrifying signs of planetary instability. Now they were opportunities for scientific advancement and recreational experience. The galaxy had learned that what they called environmental instability, humans called interesting conditions. The expedition's success depended on more than just human guidance. Advanced safety systems developed specifically for interspecies adventure had evolved far beyond anything Earth had originally possessed. Real-time biological monitoring tracked each team member's physiological responses to environmental conditions, automatically adjusting protective equipment and emergency protocols for different species requirements. Crystal Mine approached one of Tempest 7's famous razor formations, crystalline structures that grew in impossible geometric patterns while constantly changing shape in response to the planet's magnetic field variations. These formations offer climbing challenges that could revolutionize our understanding of dynamic geometry. The Keth specialist reported, "The structural changes provide real-time problem-solving requirements that surpass anything possible in stable environments." The expedition represented more than exploration. It was proof that the galaxy's relationship with environmental challenge had permanently evolved. The same species that had evolved in perfectly controlled conditions were now seeking out worlds specifically because they offered the kind of natural obstacles their ancestors had worked millennia to eliminate back on Earth. The Galactic Adventure Academy had become the most prestigious educational institution in known space. Students from dozens of species traveled to humanity's former Deathworld to learn advanced techniques for what was now officially recognized as therapeutic environmental engagement. The curriculum included everything from basic weather appreciation to advanced multi-species emergency response procedures. "We're not just teaching aliens to enjoy danger," explained Dr. Foster during her keynote address to the Galactic Education Council. "We're helping species rediscover biological capabilities they thought they had evolved beyond environmental challenges. Don't just build character, They literally optimize neurological function. Her research had proven that controlled exposure to environmental challenges improved cognitive flexibility, problem-solving abilities, and emotional resilience across all tested species. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations were discovering that their technological perfection had inadvertently eliminated experiences their biology required for optimal function. The transformation extended far beyond recreation. Several alien governments had begun incorporating controlled environmental challenges into their educational systems, medical treatment protocols, and even diplomatic training. The Alteran Diplomatic Corps now required all ambassadors to complete basic adventure training, reasoning that beings who could handle environmental uncertainty would be better prepared. For the unpredictability of interspecies negotiations, Ambassador Kale, now a certified beginner surfing instructor, had become one of humanity's most effective advocates in galactic politics. His transformation from horrified alien rescuer to enthusiastic adventure participant symbolized the complete reversal in galactic attitudes toward Earth and its inhabitants. The humans didn't need our rescue, he reflected during the Academy's 5th anniversary celebration. We needed theirs. We had achieved perfect safety and perfect boredom. The humans taught us that optimization isn't about eliminating challenges, it's about learning to thrive within them. The economic implications were staggering. Earth had become the wealthiest planet in known space, not through traditional resource exploitation but through exporting expertise in controlled risk management. Human adventure guides commanded salaries that rivaled galactic diplomats. Earth universities attracted alien students whose governments paid enormous tuitions for environmental adaptation training. The planet's economy had shifted from survival-based to knowledge-based almost overnight. The expedition to Tempest 7 succeeded beyond all expectations. The joint human-alien team not only explored the dangerous world safely, but established the galaxy's first multi-species research station designed specifically for studying extreme environmental conditions. The facility became a model for collaborative exploration, proving that different species could combine their unique capabilities to achieve results impossible for any single civilization. The final achievement came 6 months later, when the Galactic Council officially established the Department of Environmental Adaptation, headquartered on Earth with Dr. Foster as its first director. The same planet that had once been classified as a nightmare Deathworld became the galaxy's official center for research into optimal environmental conditions for intelligent life. Captain Chen received the galaxy's highest honor for exploration leadership during the ceremony that established Earth's new status. As she accepted the award, she looked out at an audience that included species from across known space, all of them now understanding that the conditions they had once considered hellish were actually the foundation of biological optimization. 5 years ago, you tried to rescue us from our home, she told the assembled delegates. Today, we're all learning that home isn't a place where you're safe from challenges. It's a place where challenges help you become who you're meant to be. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest gift wasn't surviving on a death world. It was teaching everyone else that the difference between a death world and a thriving world was simply a matter of perspective, preparation, and the courage to find joy in uncertainty. The rescue mission had become a revolution, and both humans and aliens were better for it.